Hi guys, welcome to the show. So you may have heard that Ripple has bought a company called METACO. METACO is a digital asset custodian that holds digital assets for big clients like Citi, BNP Paribas, and they're pretty huge. Now, this is a Swiss-based company that looks like they had partnerships with Societe Generale, which was also a RippleNet customer, and Forge partners with METACO to expand its institutional digital asset capabilities. Now, Societe Generale Forge is their digital asset type of division for this. So when I was looking at the About section on Forge, they said in 2020 the first blockchain financial transaction settled with the G7 central bank digital currency. Societe Generale, the covered bond vehicle of Societe Generale, issued 40 million euros of covered bonds as a security tokens directly registered on a public ledger. And I believe the public ledger was Ethereum. Now, this goes on to say Societe Generale was simultaneously paid the issuer in a digital form of euros issued by the Banque de France through a blockchain platform. Now, there's been numerous documents with the Banque de France that included both the XRP ledger, Ethereum, and some private permission systems. So we know that they at least are studying it. Now, Citibank chose METACO. Now, Citibank is a correspondent bank, and they're pretty large. So the custody platform integration is with security services and will focus on tokenized securities to begin with. And you come down here and it says they hold $27 trillion worth of assets under custody, and it intends to integrate with METACO's harmonized crypto custody platform. And you dig some more, and it looks like Deca Bank selects Swiss crypto specialist METACO to steer its digital asset offering. The bank has 360 billion euros in assets under management. And the list just keeps going on and on. You can see Societe Generale, Citibank, and there's a lot of Rippled customers mixed into the mix. Now, METACO and Cobalt to provide digital asset trading to institutions. Now, a while back, the XRP ledger had like a proposed upgrade called Cobalt, and people were conflating this fintech Cobalt with the upgrade, which wasn't exactly true, but this Cobalt platform is nonetheless pretty big. So they are using METACO, as well as they talk about Baton Systems, which was supposed to be the Ripple killer, right? They're presenting Baton System as like this FX real-time international cross-border platform that use DLT technology. So Cobalt has a partnership with them. They're using METACO for their digital asset securities. Now, this is Cobalt's website. You can see there's quite a few different RippleNet partners, BNP Paribas, Barclays, which they've come out with a couple Ripple PDFs that listed Barclays as a RippleNet customers. There's NatWest, Deutsche Bank, and they're being used by quite a few different big players. Now, it looks like BBVA is also working with METACO, and BBVA, as you know, is a RippleNet investor, Ripple investor, as well as a RippleNet user. And they're using METACO, and they talk about they're using a platform called Silo, METACO's Silo, with Russia's Gazprom Bank, which is currently, right, all the Russian banks are sanctioned right now, but all of the BRICS nations are moving forward digital assets and digital currencies and try to dive deep into this technology to get away from dollar hegemony. Now, this says that it's in Switzerland, right? So Silo is in Switzerland, and METACO is also working with Standard Chartered, another RippleNet investor / RippleNet user, and they're all kind of interlinked using this platform. Now, TEMENOS, as you may remember, TEMENOS was this really big deal. TEMENOS right here, Meet the Marketplace by TEMENOS, and they built a platform with METACO called METACO Silo. And METACO Silo is this like institutional hardware wallet / software. So they hold digital assets for for their banking clients. Now, when I dug into this PDF, I could have sworn there's a page that's being left out, but fortunately I took a picture of it on my Patreon, and you can see here that METACO Silo is a cryptocurrency wallet management system that brings financial institutions to the crypto ecosystem. Now, this is pre-integrated with TEMENOS T24, so it's integrated with TEMENOS T24. Now, when I first got into the XRP community, it was a big deal to hear about TEMENOS because of this document. Deloitte showcases integration of Ripple technology into TEMENOS T24, allowing real-time international payments. And at the same time, this came out in like 2016, at the same time there was this document that came out about Project Ubin. And this was with Deloitte. As you saw with the previous one, Deloitte was the one that issued the PR. It says the prototype integrates Ripple and Stellar blockchain platforms to enable person-to-person transactions across geographies. Now, cross-border payments have plenty of room for innovation, and the future looks bright for DLT within this use case. So this is in 2016 that they wrote this document. Now, this is another Deloitte PDF that shows Ripple Connect, and it's showing it for a pretty interesting use case. It's showing it for real estate. When you look at this, it has a U.S. property buyer in the United States and a U.K. property buyer, and they're using Ripple Connect in order to settle their transactions. You see real-time settlement right here. And they're trying to purchase real estate. Now, as you see, this is a Deloitte document. Now, TEMENOS is massive. It's used by most of the global banks. Most of the global banks are using TEMENOS, and if you look at some of the customers TEMENOS has, they're integrated into a lot of different banks. A lot of different central banks use TEMENOS, specifically all over the world. There's smaller central banks that are using TEMENOS software. So T24 is integrated into pretty much so TEMENOS is used all over the world. There's over 145 countries. 41 of the top 50 banks use TEMENOS. Here's an unofficial list of TEMENOS customers, and you can see there's quite a bit of them. American Express is one, Amex Bank. There's quite a few central banks in here. Santander does, Bank Boston, Bank Muscat, Bank Standard, Bank Thai, Bank de France. There we go. So Bank de France, like I mentioned earlier, was Societe Generale. Bank de France uses TEMENOS T24. So this has a ton of different central banks in Africa. We know Mojo Loop is very active in Africa, Canadian Bank, Delta Bank, and their websites claim that they're 41 of the top 50 banks all are using TEMENOS software. So what Silo is it plugged right into TEMENOS T24, and everybody that's any of these banks get to use it, Standard Chartered. There you go, another RippleNet customer. Fireco and METACO are some of the providers leading the space for digital asset custody solution, thus enabling market makers and service providers to enter the digital asset ecosystem and have an important role to play in the future of tokenized securities. Right, so that was what Citigroup was trying to do, is with securities. Not just crypto assets. So METACO can take anything that's tokenized. It doesn't necessarily have to be Bitcoin or Ethereum. It could be anything that's tokenized. Over here it says they've also announced the formation of Zodiac Custody, an institutional grade digital asset custodian service with partners Northern Trust, and invested in METACO, a provider of security critical digital asset infrastructure. Northern Trust is Glenn Hutchins, right? The guy with the mustache that was talking about the Ripple protocol. Now, we come to this document, and remember Project Ubin is Singapore, so digital asset fintech METACO on the rise of Singapore as a global digital asset hub. They did an expansion in Singapore. So in this document, they talk about some of the different So METACO is providing this capability in partnership with IBM and Union Bank. So in the Philippines, they were offering digital asset service for Axie Infinity and some of the other NFTs and stuff, but they were working with IBM and Union Bank to do that. I believe Union Bank is either a RippleNet customer or one that we've found through research and not necessarily officially. The securitization or tokenization of real-world assets or non-banked assets is fascinating. The underlying assets might be real estate, collectibles, fine wine, even luxury yachts, and so forth, but the key is more and more banks are seeing the value of laying the foundation now. So as clients' demand rises, as it inevitably will, they can go to market quickly. Now, here is another PDF that shows Deloitte and using partnerships with Ripple. So this entire thing is just all the usual suspects all kind of all together. Now, the thing that I just read, there was an expansion on their site. So the real estate, private equities, commodities, fine wines, and this person from METACO says that tokenized assets is expected to skyrocket to more than 20 trillion in the next few years and can potentially even exceed 350 trillion plus in the longer term. And this was also another early proof of concept. This one was with CGI as well as Singapore. So right here, connecting shipping companies and banks. The Singapore government and a consortium of banks, CGI, used Ripple to address its invoice fraud associated with companies claiming to engage in the shipping businesses under a smart blockchain-enabled process. Invoices were shared on a permission blockchain. So all of these different use cases all kind of have been trialed with Ripple, and you're seeing all these different use cases come together, and METACO, is tokenized everything. It's not necessarily just crypto assets. So the reason why I say this, right, is because just yesterday, Ripple did a PR saying they launched a CBDC platform for the development of CBDCs and stablecoins, and they make it super simple for banks to issue their own assets. They have this user interface where they use an instance of the XRP ledger, a private version of the XRP ledger, and they're able to issue assets and kind of use it like they use their ledgers for, and just issue it on a cloned version of the XRP ledger. Now, this came out from the Hong Kong Monetary Authority. You could see Brooks Entwistle right here. He is standing in the background with a little Ripple pin, and a PR release came out shortly saying Ripple to showcase real estate tokenization solution as part of the Hong Kong Monetary Authority's inaugural EHKD pilot program. So there's 16 different participants, and that Ripple was one of them that was chosen to try to make CBDC rollout. And you can see Ripple, alongside its partners Fubon Bank, one of the largest commercial banks in Taiwan, will demonstrate its use case under the EHKD pilot program, which will focus on real estate asset tokenization and equity release leveraging of the EHKD. So that's the pilot that I showed you earlier. If you the pilot that I showed you earlier right here is a commercial real estate application, a real estate application, right? Somebody in the US and the UK, it's a property buyer, property seller, and you have this whole entire diagram showing how it will work through Ripple. So they've been working on this for quite some time. Some of the early partnerships were, METACO was one of them that kind of connects all this together. So I think it's pretty interesting to see what's going on. Somebody asked me that, this CBDC thing is confusing to them, and all this really is the XRP ledger is being duplicated. It's not the XRP we own, but they're duplicating the ledger. And what happens is when more and more banks, when more and more central banks, commercial banks, everyone starts using this ledger, it becomes core technology. It becomes the standard of technology. In order for these banks to transaction with each other trustlessly, they need the public version of XRP. They need the XRP that we have. They need to use that ledger to do everything trustlessly. So if, there's two banks that trust each other, there's ways to bridge these two private versions together, but that's missing the whole point. There's no reason to trust anyone. And when you trust somebody, that's a premium that's added to all the transactions. Just to trust another central bank, you're adding on cost. That's more cost going into the system. They've got to insure everything. It's more of a costly type of system. So listen to this. This is a TEMENOS T24 with RippleNet in 2016. Listen to what he has to say.
Nothing's going to be perfect the first time, so try and experiment, learn from it, and go forward. But here's the biggest thing, number 3. If you look at all of the people we have in the room here today, this is a trusted network. You're all on the same TEMENOS T24 stack. If everyone gets onto the Ripple network and can move money around, you can get away from all the SWIFT networks, all that kind of stuff. You have your own trusted network and the ability within this room to generate new value for your customers that didn't exist before. Okay.
So I got into this Twitter argument with somebody that was in the banking industry, and I brought out some of the points that I bring out in my videos, like why would banks trust each other? The correspondent banks are being cost an arm and a leg with everything. And his counter argument was SWIFT is not just a cross-border payments platform. They're also, FX, treasuries, securities, real estate that cover a broad spectrum of different asset classes. It's not just, not just moving money from A to B. So all of this together and all these integrations that we see and all these different use cases that we see, like the shipping use case, right? All of that stuff, that's what's going to replace SWIFT. And that's all integrated into these partnerships and these API connections. All of that together, not to mention if banks are able to create their own private ledgers and do everything, there's no reason for SWIFT. They can completely run these on private ledgers and then hopefully use the public XRP ledger to send value across different borders. So I hope you guys enjoyed the show. Please take a moment to like and subscribe. If you enjoy content like this, please consider joining my Patreon.